Hi folks, welcome back to my channel. On the channel we're going to have a look at a reply that Simon Dan gives to this young lady who's asking a very important question, and it's an excellent question. And the answer to that question shows you clearly that we've all been lied to. Now I've made videos, a long time ago I made videos on this topic when I had a channel called My Perspective. Right, so I'm going to deal with this, and let's listen to what the young lady says, and let's put Simon Dan to the test.
Let's get a little bit closer, shall we? There, that's better. If the moon is 238,000 miles away from us, how come we can zoom in so closely?
Yeah, you see, well, when you zoom into something that has a diameter of 3,500 kilometers, then it's pretty easy to zoom into it.
So it's an excellent question. So when you understand how a camera lens works, there's two issues we're going to look at: the focal length and the distance, the zoom length. So is there a camera zoom lens that can zoom and focus at 400,000 kilometers? The answer is no. So they'll say, well, what about infinity focus? So let's have a look at this. You get two types of lenses. You get a fixed lens, and sometimes it's called a fast lens. So it can be cheap, and for example, here's a lens that has a focal length of it's f2.8. It's called a fast lens that allows a lot of light in. Beautiful lens, gives you beautiful depth of field. Then you get a zoom lens. So normally those with a focal length of around about 1.2 or 2.9, they're extremely expensive. Excellent lenses. Now the point is we're going to have a look at two issues here: the focal length and the zoom length, because both of these together help you to understand that the moon is in the same relative position as the clouds. When you photograph the moon with the clouds, the moon and the clouds are relatively close to each other. So you don't need to go and buy an expensive lens. Right? All general lenses, you can photograph the moon with it. So why? If the moon was 400,000 kilometers away, you would need a very special lens to zoom in and photograph it. So they'll talk about infinity focus. Right? So you get a zoom lens, they'll say, well, around about f22, everything's in focus. It's going to be a wide angle lens. Now, if the word infinity focus, it's a bit misleading because light converges to the horizon. So there is no such thing as infinity focus, because the lens cannot see forever. The light converges to the horizon. The horizon is the focal length. So whatever the distance to that convergence is, that's the focal point. You can't see anything behind the focal point. It's not possible because the light converges to the focal point. You can't see anything behind that. That's why we know the moon isn't 400,000 kilometers away, and that stars aren't a gazillion million miles away. So how do we prove it? It has to do with distance and focal length. So remember, something can be very big, but if it's out of focal length, it's still going to be blurry. It's not about the size of the object, but the focal distance. So when you take a photograph, in this instance, of the moon and the clouds, the moon's in focus and so is the cloud. It tells you that the distance between the moon and the clouds must be relatively close to each other, even though the moon and the clouds can be far away from the lens. So let's look at zooming now. Scale. So zooming and scale is the same thing. If the moon was 400,000 kilometers away, when you zoomed into the clouds, the moon wouldn't be able to zoom with the clouds. Its rate of scale would be much, much, much slower. In fact, it would stay the same size. The fact that the moon and the clouds zoom at the same rate means that the moon and the clouds are relatively close to each other. Now let's look at focus. When you zoom into the moon and the clouds, they zoom together. Right? Now, when you focus on the moon and the clouds. If the moon was far away, you would have to set a completely different focal range. In fact, it wouldn't be within your abilities of your lens to focus on a moon that's 400,000 kilometers away. So your depth of field wouldn't apply to the moon. It applies to the moon and the clouds because they are relatively close together. So the focal range between the clouds and the moon is the same because the light from the moon only illuminates the clouds by the moon. Right. So the moon isn't far away, like we've been told. It's a complete lie. And another thing is, think about light, reflected. Think about refracted light, and the light sorts itself. Right. Light only illuminates things that are close by. What kind of reflected light can travel 400,000 kilometers and then only illuminate the clouds 400,000 kilometers away? No, all the clouds at night would be illuminated if what they're saying is true. So being lied to. So it's important that we ask questions, right? Because the people that are lying to you, they don't give a rat's ass about you. These are evil people. Yeah, I'm going to use this woman as an example. So there was a fellow, John Campbell, who started asking questions why some people got hurt, right? And people are still being damaged by the so-called medical procedure that they had fairly recently. Now, this woman, making fun of people who are asking questions. You see, they don't want you to ask questions. Right? So they make fun, and that's all they can do is they can just make fun of you. Right? And so what kind of people have no compassion but laugh at other people getting hurt? We're dealing with a special kind of evil person. Right? So ask your own questions. All right? You don't have to take their nonsense. You stand up to them and tell them, listen, take your nonsense and duck. So here's a question for you. Is it okay to hit a witch with her own science broom? My answer is absolutely. Otherwise they come and shit on your doorstep. Right? Chase them away. Like this evil woman with her science broom. Hit her and just tell her to take your stuff and duck, lady. Right? So ask your own questions. And I hope this video has helped you out. Stand up for yourself. They have no authority over you unless you give it to them. Cheers and thanks for watching.
Maps and models all distort. Talk to see but come up short. Out the window, clear and play. Where's your curve? No